Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called Cycle Fit Chicks. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. Hey friends, before we get started, I'm going to throw a little ad your way. As a cyclist, what is a spring all about? It's about getting your bike ready and learning some specific skills on how to deal with a bike mechanical while out for a ride. Let me ask you this. Do you avoid going long distances because you're afraid of experiencing a flat and not knowing what to do and possibly having to phone someone to pick you up? I can totally relate. I used to be that way. Now, to avoid having that ever happening, I have something for you. I have created an online bike maintenance webinars and local hands-on clinics. Check the website for new dates regularly. Here's what you will learn: how to take your back wheel off, how to change a flat, how to adjust brakes, repair a broken chain, patch a flat. In addition, you will learn how to use the tools you are carrying in your bike bag, such as Allen keys and a chain brake tool, tire levers, how to use your pumps, what are chain links and how to use them. With these new skills and confidence, you will be able to handle any mechanical while cycling alone or in a group. No matter where you are globally, you can benefit from one of these webinars. If you're local, the clinics are more for you, and that's for Ottawa, Ontario area. I've been teaching these clinics for over 10 years, and trust me when I say, everyone learns something. A recording will be provided for the webinars, as well as Amazon shopping lists for both webinars and clinics for the bike tools that you will be using and learning how to use. Make sure to secure your spot today at www.sylviedau.ca or bmcclinic.ca. Thank you very much and enjoy the episode. Welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling podcast with your host, Sylvie Dau. And we have an amazing interview lined up for you today with Will Geoghegan, who is the team owner manager for Floyds of Leadville racing team. So he has Floyds of Leadville Racing has secured the title sponsor with Floyd. And I'm not going to go into too much detail because this is why we have Will on the podcast. And he's going to tell us all about how this came to be. So welcome, Will, to the podcast.
Thank you, Sylvie. It's very nice to be talking to you.
I am so excited. So I didn't mention this before we started, but I always do ask my guests how they got into cycling first, and then how it kind of led into where you are today with working with Floyd.
Sure. Well, that could take the whole 70 minutes, to be perfectly honest. However, I got into cycling my freshman year of college. I'd been a runner in high school and didn't really like running. Got to college, couldn't have a car on campus, so got a mountain bike, rode a lot. Invariably, your bike needs repair. Met the people in the shop who were doing group rides and started doing that and got heavy into mountain biking right away. That's 1989.
89. Oh my God, 89. 89, I graduated from high school. I was like,
me too.
Oh, did you really? Oh my God, that's so fun. Not obviously in the same place, but wow. So is that where, did you go into racing a lot of mountain biking at that time, or how did your mountain biking take you to to where you are today?
So started learning how to mountain bike race back in the late 80s, early 90s. Got better and better and better. Got my pro license at the end of 92 and raced Norbas and World Cup professionally for 8 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So through that time, in 1993, I met Floyd as he was a junior racer. I was from Ohio. He was from Pennsylvania. We went to the Norba finals in Michigan. And in the feed zone for the junior race, I saw his dad kind of struggling, Paul Landis, and offered to help him out. Because I'd seen him at races with his son, Floyd, and offered to, support the race. And then Floyd won the junior race, was the junior national champion of 93, and just became, quick, close friends with Floyd and maintained that friendship all through the 90s. In 1997, I secured Chevy Trucks as the title sponsor of my own team.
Okay.
And then in 98, hired Floyd and all my friends in 98. And we had a big old team traveling everywhere, racing mountain bikes and road bikes that year. A little bit of road bikes.
Oh, wow. So what was your race team back in the day?
Chevy Trucks, Team Chevy Trucks.
Oh, okay. It was Team Chevy Trucks. Oh my God. I like that. That's got to be a boy, like a guy's, greatest, greatest endeavor to have Chevy Trucks as their. Did you get a truck as well?
Yes, everybody got a truck.
What? Oh my God. Those are the days of abundance, I tell you.
Yes, the heyday of mountain biking was fun.
Yeah. So that was
nonetheless.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, after 98, Chevy Trucks moved over to GT, and we lost our title sponsor. And then Floyd and I switched to road cycling for 99.
Okay. And is that where he went to Europe?
No.
So
in
what
1999, we switched to road and caught the attention of Mercury team, road racing team, and they offered Floyd a job. So Floyd jumped onto Mercury and rode for them for a couple of years, and then moved to Postal Service in 2002.
Okay. And that's where
So I effectively stopped racing in 99, end of 99.
Okay, is that where you created your company?
No. I started working again for Floyd right after his positive test in 2006 and became his manager and hired all the attorneys and ran the legal process for Floyd. And that didn't end real well. So nonetheless, I moved into other types of work, marketing and promotional work for some tech companies. But then I basically stopped riding my bike from 2000 till just a little over a year ago.
Oh.
I mean, I rode a little bit, but not training, not riding. So, but working for Floyd, we fought his fight and lost. And he started doing other work, pursuing other types of things for a career. He did go back to racing briefly, but I really wasn't tied in on that. And then this last fall, in October, Floyds Of Leadville, the CBD company, exhibited at Sea Otter.
Oh, okay.
And my wife works for Floyd and does marketing and events, and someone couldn't make the Sea Otter race, so I volunteered to be the labor for the weekend. And during that week, getting ready for the race or for the event, we saw that Tinker Juarez, 3-time world champion, had been released by Cannondale. And the intriguing part is Floyd and I spent 7, 8, 9 years trying to beat Tinker at Norbas and World Cups. And, you know, we couldn't do it. I mean, he was just too good.
Right.
You know, and so we chased him for years and years and years. So we had this very mutual respect for Tinker, kind of one of our heroes, and just an all-around great guy. So when we saw that he had been released by Cannondale, I immediately texted Floyd and said, hey, this is crazy. They don't, you know, they're going to just dump him. We've got to do something. So he agreed, yeah, let's do something. Let's work with him. Maybe we sponsor him. I said, yeah, let's get something going with him. I'll meet him at Sea Otter. So Floyd decided to come to Sea Otter. We had a meeting with Tinker and agreed to pick him up and make a program built around him, you know, build a sponsor package for him and support him at races and such. And so after that week, it took about 2 weeks of thinking, and we decided if you're going to have one racer, you might as well have 3 or 4. It's not that it's so much more work, but it's better value to sponsor.
Right.
So, but we knew a traditional team, you know, a road-oriented team style approach wouldn't really work for gravel racing and mountain bike racing. So, you know, we developed this dispersed, you know, kind of non-traditional group of people, which included another young kid who's no longer with us. He's just quit the team that I met at Sea Otter. And we had met through some mutual friends, a racer named Taylor Lindeen, who is a ultra endurance and gravel racer from originally Phoenix, but now lives in Arkansas. And we approached him and, you know, gave him the concept of the team and what we were going to do. And he was immediately full tilt. So we're lucky we've gotten connected with some really quality people who really just want to have fun. Taylor's a very competitive, high-end elite athlete. He won Unbound XL last year in Emporia, the long, you know, gravel race.
Yeah.
He won that by some good amount. And I had seen him at a race last fall in September in Arizona. I watched him handily dispatch 4 or 5 guys from a road team who were trying to work him over in a gravel race in Arizona, and was extremely impressed. I mean, this gravel race was very difficult, and he had no problem just, you know, dispatching this group of guys. So I thought to myself, that's the kind of racer that I want to be involved with. That's how we got connected with Taylor. And then we have Genevieve Jeanson, another mutual friend, Paul Thomas, who's, let's call it a director of the team and a racer. He has a very long history in endurance sports and has a significant amount of networking. And through his travels and experience, he got to know Genevieve in the past and knew that she was emerging from her hiatus of her trauma and such. So we met with Genevieve and talked about what we were doing, see if that would be something she'd be interested in. And she was. She feels gravel is a new beginning for her, a new experience, a new adventure. You know, the goal of the team is to have fun and race our bikes and have a good time and try and deliver value for sponsors. So that's how we got connected with Genevieve, through our other racer, Paul Thomas. The company who sponsors us for the bikes is called Squad Cycles, based in Montreal.
Yeah.
Owned by Patrice Lemieux. And he also is close with Genevieve, being a kind of a local to her neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And help make that connection possible.
So
that's how we assembled the roster of people: Taylor, Tinker, Genevieve, Paul. And then we have Floyd, who's now back riding to some extent, who's going to do some races. I'm back in reasonable shape, so I'm going to do some races. And Dave Zabriskie is also tied to Floyd's company, Floyds of Leadville, and he's expressed interest in being part of some of the stuff we're going to do. So we do have some pretty good talent once everyone's in good shape to be able to come to races and have some fun.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I forgot. Yeah, squad cycles in Montreal. I've met Patrice. He's quite the individual. I really like him. And I've also, for those who are listening, very shortly, my interview with Taylor Lindeen will come out. So you have to check that out. But so this is your start of the season. I think it just started a week or so ago. And
well, hold on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me interrupt. We began our season January 29th in Temecula at a race called Gravel and Wine. Like whining, okay. not wine drink.
Oh, the whining.
So so Gravel and Wine was our first race. Tinker got 4th. Floyd was about 8th. I raced but got 3 flats in the first hour, so I was like 35th or 38th. And really the results are secondary to everything else. We made a lot of friends, you know, promoted the CBD brand, Floyds of Leadville, and Tinker did, 100 autographs, 100 selfies with people on Instagram. And that's the objective, is to connect with the community, be welcoming, help people experience CBD and learn about the products that can help them in their lives, and just have a good time.
Yeah, I love that.
Was the first, end of January, first race. Then the next race was, we did a training camp in February in Fallbrook, California. So we brought everybody into the training camp right near Temecula for 7-8 days of good riding. That then moved straight to Tucson, where Taylor had been preparing for months for the 24 Hours of Old Pueblo mountain bike race, which he does solo. Mm-hmm. So Taylor in his race resume has been second before. I believe he's won it at least once, but 24 Hours of Old Pueblo is a mountain bike race outside of Tucson. And that's one of Taylor's big objectives for the year. So we went to that to support Taylor, and somehow Paul and I got roped into being on a corporate team because a couple of their riders either had a family emergency or were injured, some reason they couldn't do it. So we got pulled in to do laps for a corporate team. So we had Taylor in the solo race, and then Paul and myself doing laps with this composite mountain bike team. So that was a good weekend. It's a wonderful event where we exhibited the products. We had a booth, and unfortunately Taylor had a minor health scare, had to drop out of the race. We withdrew him from the race, so he was unable to challenge Keegan. At the time he withdrew, he and Keegan were still riding together 7-8 hours into the race, matching pace, matching effort. And, unfortunately for Taylor, he just couldn't continue in the race. So he's now gone through a number of health checks and is now back on the verge of back to hard training and racing.
Yeah. I sent him a quick message and asked him, he said he passed out on the course.
It was a scary moment. He's riding along and kind of short-circuited and fell to the ground. Luckily, it wasn't somewhere dangerous. It was, a reasonably smooth part of the trail.
Yeah.
So he didn't, he explained it to me that next thing he knows, he's riding along talking to Keegan. They're, talking about something coming up and how to handle a downhill or where to drink water or whatever. And next thing you know, he wakes up and someone's saying, "Hey dude, are you okay?" Looking over him. He's on the ground. So with that in mind, it's not safe to just jump back on your bike and keep racing.
Yeah. That was the first thing I thought too, was thank God it wasn't at a, technical part of the course as well.
Right. Or right into some cactus. I think he did hit some cactus, but didn't get too
cactus.
He didn't get too mangled up. So then after 24 Hours of Old Pueblo, the program that we're on took us to South Carolina, to a place called Clinton, South Carolina, outside of Columbia, and was part of the Southeast Gravel Series, which is a racing series, obviously in the southeast of the U.S., but mostly in the South Carolina, North Carolina region. So we were just there 2 weekends ago now, and Floyd came down, Taylor came out, didn't race, just kind of rode parts of the course with me. Floyd raced, I raced. We didn't race particularly great, but we also had introduced our new sponsor, which is Reed's Ginger Ale. So we had our Reed's truck from the company come up and do a sampling event with the 1,400, 1,500 total people who are in attendance. So the program for the team is promotion and sales facilitation for the Floyds of Leadville CBD brand, and then for all the sponsors. So at the Southeast Gravel is sponsored by Boyd Cycling, and they are one of our sponsors. So we work in kind of a unified way with the race series and the sponsors to put together an expo area that can drive traffic around our sampling with Reed's, education around our CBD products, and then promoting the products that we race on, like the wheels or the tires from Kenda, or saddles from Cel Repente, or squad bikes. So we have a nifty program to promote all the sponsors, not just in the race when you're out on the dirt, 30 miles from anywhere, but back at the venue, the start finish expo, that allows us to get, personal with the crowds, get to meet people, talk about how they're doing, explain to them the benefits of CBD, show them the bike, show them the equipment, offer them a cold Reed's ginger ale, that kind of thing.
I love the balance that you have there, because I was on Floyd's website looking at his CBD products, and I was really surprised because in Canada it's you don't get so much of it because it's not like they started to really restrict CBD here, but in the States it seems to be way more open, and a lot more states are getting into it and selling it. And I was surprised about the products they had, actually, like the protein, the hydrate, the rubbing oil. Well, I'm not but the other, the more the nutrition products.
We have been focused on developing athlete-centric line of products. So things that benefit, the protein recovery, the hydration, but nonetheless, with that comes access to all the other, the tincture, the oil that you ingest, soft gel caps, the topicals, which are very good, sports cream for your sore joints or sore back, warming balm to get you going, cooling balm to help you recover. But we have two approaches for CBD. Essentially, there's a black label, and that is called full spectrum. So full spectrum CBD is natural CBD in the sense we don't affect the ingredients. So in hemp oil that you extract from a hemp plant, there's a trace amount of THC. And I say trace, I mean 0.03%, extremely finite amount, which in nature just occurs, as it grows. It's not a cannabis plant, it's a hemp plant. So we have that black label, which is called full spectrum, and that does contain that trace amount of THC. And then there's the white label products, which are called isolate, which is where we distill the hemp oil and get rid of that trace amount of THC. So when we speak with the public at an event or get questions through the website, people want to know, well, I test positive if I'm at my job, I'm a truck driver, I'm a FAA employee. Right. I have to not have any THC in my system. So that's the purpose of the isolate. And it's also safe for young athletes, young people who may, their parents may not want to expose them to or even permit them to ingest a full spectrum product. So the isolate is also suitable for CBD for people younger than 18. Oh. So the benefits of CBD can be realized by anybody of any age, athletes especially who get the pain of training and the inflammation from their workouts, CBD's, biggest benefit in my mind is anti-inflammatory. So it works to knock away the inflammation that causes pain from your workout.
Wow. That is really cool.
Floyds of Leadville, so Floyds of Leadville CBD is one of the, if not the highest quality and purity products available. We grow and source the hemp that we use for the hemp oil from Pennsylvania, from Amish farmers. There's a coalition of Amish farmers in Floyd's, I don't want to say neighborhood, but from where he grew up in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So he's got still strong ties into Lancaster County. And these Amish farmers had been struggling with different crops. Some of them used to grow tobacco. Now they don't grow tobacco, so they're searching for their next commodity crop. And in that quest, Floyd connected them with the hemp operation, and they started planning and experimenting with growing hemp. And they've taken to it very well. And as you can imagine, being the Amish faith or sect, or what you want to call it, they're not using a pesticide or some, in their farming methods. They're very clean and organic. These are the people who don't even use zippers.
Right.
So, they use buttons. So they're certainly not going to use some commercial pesticide on their crop. They're very, they keep things very simple. So with that being said, that's the source of hemp. So we're excited to be working with these Amish hemp farming coalition in Pennsylvania for the supply of our hemp.
That is really cool. So you have a stake in this as well? Like, are you part partner, or are you talking from like the team owner / working with Floyd as your title sponsor? Like,
yeah, well, it's a very convoluted kind of an answer.
I know you have you've known Floyd for so long. That's why I was just asking.
So so I'm not any ownership. I'm not even an employee, to be perfectly clear. My wife is an employee. My wife works for the company. But when he started the company in 2015, 2016, I started down a health escapade. So I had a stroke in 2015, and I was in rough shape for a few years there. 2018, I had 2 more strokes. Not as bad as the first one, but 2 strokes is no joke. So again, got put on the bench. So I've been on the bench kind of just doing health problems since 2015. 2019, I thought I was having another stroke, went to the hospital, got an MRI. They're very, very cheerily told me, you're not having a stroke. That's the good news. The bad news is you have multiple sclerosis. So,
oh God.
So I'm a bit of a health case.
Wow, MS. Nice. Well, I know that you can't completely reverse MS, but you can really it'll never go away, but you can definitely improve your health with what you're doing.
Well, let me explain a little more.
Nutrition.
Yeah, so last year, around end of January, our whole family had COVID very, very bad, like 3 weeks of pure sickness. And at the end of that, when I emerged from COVID, I decided, okay, this is enough health problems. And I was a little overweight. I had gained a little weight through all the pharmaceutical drugs they give you for MS and for, blood issues with the stroke. And I got very aggravated with my situation. I decided to get out my mountain bike, throw away my medicine, just take CBD and just start riding again. So I slowly built up, February, March, April of last year, finally able to ride 2, 3, 4 hours every other day. May I got out my road bike, found Strava, started being able to train a little more, intently, was able to build up. So in August of last year, was up to, 17, 18, 20-hour weeks. And then in September and October, even more. Lost all the weight I'd gained. So got back basically now to my race weight from 99, 2000, about 45, 50 pounds of weight loss.
Wow.
So I've kind of use CBD as my medicine, which it is, to keep my MS in check and basically defeat the problems that I was having with health in my life. So with exercise, like when I say exercise, I mean, real training, 20 hours of cycling a week of real effort and real focused high level training. So that's not what normal people do who have strokes and MS. So
no,
I just had enough. That was it.
Yeah,
that was
no, I get it.
So that led me to my first race last fall in September in 22 years. Went to the race in Arizona where I saw Taylor Lindeen defeat this group of guys trying to beat him up, and kind of witnessed his performance and was very impressed with how he handled himself and how he interacted with the public. And he's just such a good-natured guy, just a genuinely guy, smart, funny, very approachable, very friendly. I mean, just the nicest guy you could meet. And so just felt this is somebody I want to work with. And that was just before Sea Otter. So I had seen Taylor before we even knew Tinker was going to be in our life. So I thought, this thing with Tinker kind of was impromptu. We didn't know in advance that Cannondale was going to release him, and we didn't know in advance that we'd be having any kind of cycling team or program. So we just kind of fell into place. And since I'd run teams before and obviously been an athlete, I can put this together for Floyd and for the brand. And so that's kind of that's the backstory of how we're around.
Well, that's a great story, Will. I love it. And I'm glad, and I thank you for sharing that with me. So now you've got, not only do you have Reed's Ginger Ale, but you did mention another partnership with Go4Graham Foundation.
Right. Yep. We're extremely proud to be the group working with Go4Graham, which is a mental health awareness foundation based in Denver. The people there have set the objective in that people in their lives have the perception that any kind of mental health, even a question, hey, how are you feeling? How's your brain doing? How are you as a person, is some sign of weakness. And the stigma associated with that is, if you're depressed, that must mean you have a weakness.
Yeah. So are they able to, sorry. I wasn't sure if you're finished.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that their aim to shred the stigma is to make it okay and engage in the dialogue with people to talk about how they feel. Not your feelings like who you love, but how are you feeling? What's your state? And we want to get through that barrier, especially at races, which is where we feel like we're able to really connect in our discussions. Let's give the example of the use case of, we're at our expo booth. I'll use the example of this weekend in Mid-South at Stillwater. Floyds of Leadville CBD has a booth. We have an expo area, a tent, tables, products to sample and products for sale. And part of our dialogue is, how are you feeling, right? So how's your body, right? How's your mind doing? What is your state of mind? And now we're not therapists. However, when someone says, hey, I'm really struggling with this or that, if they're willing to share, we can refer them and give them information and resources for Go4Graham, which does provide the facilitation to a therapist or to resources that a person can take advantage of. And again, we want to shred the stigma, overcome the barrier, and connect people in our circle of racing and the circle of cycling with resources that they can use to get better in their life. And that could be CBD, it could be new wheels, it could be Go4Graham, but we want to have that dialogue and connect with this racing community.
Yeah, that's great. I was wondering if they would have been part of your expo or your tent set up at the races. And that's cool. So you have material that you can hand out to people who come into your tent.
Well, to be clear, we don't print, printed materials and make garbage and, tear down trees.
Right.
We do all this digitally. However, the program with Go4Graham, May of this year May of every year is Mental Health Awareness Month in the U.S. So for the month of May, we're going to be we have a racing team kit, which is green and all covered with logos for the sponsors. We shift during May to a purple oriented kit, a purple theme kit, which is the Go4Graham color scheme. So for the month of May, mental health awareness, we race and make available to anyone who wants to ride in one too, our racing kit in purple, not green. So we have kind of a drive awareness and attention. I mean, by then we hope we'll be seen as those guys or girls racing in green, and now suddenly we'll be in purple. So that should be, a little bit of a, it's obviously not a news item, but it should be at least be a differentiator.
I would say great. Purple is a great color for visibility as well. And I like that that the States has a full month for mental health awareness, because here in Canada we have like one day, dedicated to Bell Let's Talk, which should be all the time, and spearheaded by Clara Hughes back a number of years. But I like the fact that the States has a whole month.
We're especially about Taylor Lindeen. He inspired us in this direction. He's been very open with us and open with the public in the racing community and just in life about his own struggles with depression and anxiety. He's been very willing to share his stories and make it okay. And again, as a symbol of courage, make it okay for us to talk about how you feel with a stranger. And the beauty of the situation for him is he's such an amazingly nice guy. When you speak with him, you can talk about how you feel because he's such a nice guy. He just wants to listen and be an ear and help you out. There's no, he's not talking about himself. He's talking about you. He's listening to you talk. So he's just a great example of shredding that stigma and overcoming that barrier, making it okay. Hey, I've been depressed. I have anxiety. These are my triggers. This is what causes me to get stressed out and become anxious. These are the reasons why I'm depressed in my life. This is what I do to overcome it. That's my story. How are you doing? When someone tells you how they feel and what they faced, it's a lot easier to talk about how you're feeling.
Yeah, I know. It was great talking to him and having him open up on his episode, which, by the way, for our listeners is 201. So you can go back and have a listen at with my interview with Taylor. So, but that's really cool because it seems like each one of your I don't say each one of your teammates does have their own story when it comes to mental health. And I think, that in itself is pretty strong because each one of them can offer help an ear to listen. And I know Taylor always, like he mentioned on my interview, that if, and this was for the listeners, if anybody needed someone to talk to, he is easily accessible through social media for a conversation, which I thought was pretty cool because not too many people would offer that. He's a really nice guy.
He's a really special person. I've, not having, I saw him and didn't formally meet him in the race in Arizona that I did with him. However, I spent, the whole winter working on the team with him. He's been instrumental in bringing in sponsors, making introductions, and his reputation as a racer being very strong and, dedicated. He he has quite a lot of support around the world. So,
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the different stories and personalities on the team, Tinker being the, legend of mountain biking, multi-national champion, multi-world champion. He's 61 now. So for people who are, thinking, get into cycling, but I'm too old, Tinker has been racing since he was 10 or 11 years old.
Wow.
And he's never taken a year off. In fact, he told me he's barely taken more than 3 or 4 days consecutively off.
Huh.
So he's
That's impressive.
A racer through and through. So
Right.
with Tinker, he represents a visibility and an image that, is world renowned. He's recognized everywhere. He goes to Spain and does races, goes to Mexico, does races, is recognized everywhere. Germany, Brazil, Argentina. He'll do the Masters World Championships for cross country in Argentina in April. So he'll be going for his 4th Masters UCI World mountain bike title in April. So we're excited to support Tinker. Taylor, obviously, with his race resume being so strong, he's got a lot of years ahead of him to, chase those kinds of records that Tinker has.
Right.
Genevieve has a tremendous race resume and went through some hard times, not dissimilar to Floyd, a little bit different, a little more traumatic in the sense she had a lot of trauma through some people around her, and was in a very difficult position, and with that emerged and overcame that trauma in a way that's it's remarkable and it's heroic. So I have huge respect for Genevieve's ability to persevere and seek out a life for herself that can still include cycling, because when you go through a rough time like that, you're not really interested in riding your bike anymore.
Yeah.
So, all of us who ride, we all have a passion for pedaling and riding our bikes. So having her back, willing to go out, train the way she does, come to races, be a public person again, and not only be public, but be a voice for how to guide young athletes to avoid the wrong situations and, make the most of their talent and their potential. So we have a lot of support for Genevieve in her return to bike racing. So this bike racing won't be road racing for her. It will be gravel racing and some mountain biking. So we're very thrilled that she's willing to put herself out here for us and be part of what we're doing.
Well, it's
and
almost
further
like,
on the team.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, it's just like she's reinventing herself, like you said, coming out, starting
yeah.
over. Yeah.
She's really a phoenix, the ultimate phoenix.
I love that.
So we're thrilled to work with Genevieve and get her to the races and, be part of how she's going to enjoy cycling again and bike racing. So, but then with Paul Thomas, who is a legendary endurance athlete, I say that in the sense he, as a runner growing up, at 11 years old, Paul was the national mile champion of the United States.
Wow.
So his talent was visible, at the very, very youngest ages. He set records all through high school, won titles all through high school, was a runner in the NCAA at Arkansas, part of a very successful program there, turned professional into road racing, and did well. In 94, he became, after a very short introduction to duathlon, where you run, bike, run, or bike, run, bike, I can't remember the exact splits, but he won the national title of duathlon for the U.S. in 94. And then continued to run and do other things through the mid-90s. In 98, he returned to duathlon after training about a month, won the national title again in 98, and then also won the ITU World Duathlon title with, just a short, brief time after the nationals. So Paul is an extremely accomplished athlete of all different types. Got into road cycling in his early 40s and immediately took to the road racing tactics. And he's very smart, very tactically astute, and can handle himself against, Paul's 53. He handles, the young guys, the 20-year-old guys, the 30s, without any trouble at all. So we're extremely proud to have Paul part of us, and he races for us, and he also helps me with some of the management activities with the athletes, with some of the race preparation, race day support. He's just got such a great work ethic. It's a real treat to have Paul part of our program too.
Oh my God.
Taylor, Tinker, Genevieve, Paul,
Dave.
We've lost a couple along the way, people who have decided to do their own thing, which is great, good for them. And then we have Floyd, who's decided that he does like riding his bike. He doesn't mind, and he's not thrilled to go out and ride really hard for 300 or 400 miles a week to get ready for races, but he's willing to do it because he knows we have a chance to have some fun that you just don't have unless you're racing. I mean, there's a different experience you get than training, where you train hard and you have a regular training group and you're training all the time, and that's great. You have good friends and you train hard. But in a race, you make different kinds of friends, right? You're at your maximum limit. People are in pain and you're sharing that experience with them. And really, we're not racing against people in these races. We're racing with them. We're racing to get to the end. We're racing, the distance and the terrain. You're not racing Jimmy from Oklahoma City. You're racing with this guy to see how quickly we can actually, as a group, get out to the end of the race. So, the beauty of gravel, in my view, in these races I've done, is there may be some tactics for the very front end of the race, but most of the race is about riding with other people and kind of being part of a rolling friendship. You build a little alliance, even if you don't necessarily, like the person. I mean, you don't have to like them as a person, but you're my ally on the road here on this gravel, and I'm not going to run you into a pothole or into a stick. I'll call it out and be courteous the way I would on a training ride. So there's a little more community in gravel racing during the races than there is in some of the other formats, the other disciplines.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's more, to have, I mean, like you said, at the front, it's a different story. At the back, we're riding to have fun, to finish whatever it is your goal is. And I participated in my first gravel event last September, and I had just got my gravel bike a week before. But I've raced before for many years, and I've mountain bike raced, and I'm like, how different can this be? And it was so much fun. I had a bit of a different idea of what I was going to do for the event over my teammate. I had my goals, but yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. And I had lots of fun by myself, because I was mostly by myself for the whole time.
It's definitely an interesting format. You do blend a lot of road riding and road racing skills. Knowing where the wind is, knowing the best lines to take, knowing the racing line to get through turns. However, you're on dirt, which requires a different handling skill set. And some of these gravel races, to be perfectly honest, some of them are basically a mountain bike race. They're so rough, they're so difficult. And, you can do quite a lot on a gravel bike, but some of the gravel races are road races. It's just the same flip of the mountain bike, very rough. But then some of them, and I use this race that we're racing Saturday in Mid-South, the Mid-South here in Stillwater, it's significantly pavement.
Oh.
There is gravel, but it's not the same, quote unquote gravel as you would find, say, in Arizona or even nearby in Bentonville, like at Big Sugar, where you're racing on, quite big rocks, lots and lots and lots of big loose rocks.
Right.
pool cue size rocks, tennis
Right.
ball size rocks. And they're just, covers the road. And so the difference race to race to race is part of the uniqueness of gravel racing. And that's what we're discovering. And that's part of what we talk about after the race. Hey, Timmy, Johnny, come over to our expo area, have a read, sit down, sit in our rider lounge, talk to Taylor, talk to me, talk to Tinker, talk to Floyd, right? Talk to Genevieve. How was your race? What did you think of those rocks on the downhill after the bridge? What was, we have that discussion. Now we're connected. Now we're having a conversation about the person who you're speaking with. So this is the difference with gravel racing I found is, unlike a local road race where the road race ends, they may have a podium award ceremony, and then everybody gets in their cars and leaves.
Yeah.
Gravel racing is very community oriented, which we're finding to be a wonderful experience, but also a neat way to promote the brands that we work with. So Floyds of Leadville, I know your gravel experience may not be very deep. However, we're finding these gravel races early season are short, 60, 70, 80 miles. Saturday will be the first long one. It's like 104 or 5. And based on the type of racing it is, it will be 6 or 7 hours. So, the club in terms of endurance for the races coming in May, June, July, where we get out to BWR races, Belgian Waffle Ride, where they're 130 miles. And that's long.
Yeah.
So when you're there somewhere racing with someone for 5-6 hours, it's a long time to, get to know Timmy or Johnny, right? Or them to meet me, or them to talk to Floyd or Taylor or Genevieve. So you do develop a kinship, a fraternity with other racers that carries on after the race. Oh, I saw you after the race. Hey, what's your next race? Where are you going now? Having that discussion that continues when you're done, out on the course. And then how you feel? You feel bad? Come get a free CBD sample, right? Your leg, you told me you're cramping, try the hydration, try the protein, right? So again, it's not all about just selling products. It's about, that community and, being a valuable part of it.
Yeah, I found very drawn to that because, you're right. Road racing is very cut and dry. You show up, you race, you don't mingle with anybody really, and then you leave. And I found the gravel event, and that's why I feel like very drawn to them. And I, first of all, love mountain biking. Like I started mountain biking before I started road cycling, and I love the speed and the downhill. And that's why I think I had the most fun just going fast downhill on a gravel bike. But and that's why I'm trying to figure out how I can get over and do Barry Roubaix over in
We'll be
Michigan.
I'll be there. I'm on our. I'm gonna. Can you pause it for a sec, Sylvie? I've got to open a garage door.
Oh, sure.
It's gonna be loud. Hold on.
Are you going to sit in the sun?
Say again?
Are you going to sit in the sun?
No, we're going to pre-ride the course.
Oh, all right. I see why you have a bit of time crunch. Yeah. Did you say you're going to be in Barry Roubaix?
So our spring swing of races with Pueblo, with Southeast Gravel, and with now Mid-South will continue. After Mid-South, I go up to Ohio for a gravel grinder ride that's put on by one of our sponsors, Kenda Tires. And then the next weekend is Barry Roubaix.
You're going to be there?
I'm going to be at Barry Roubaix. I'm going to race and exhibit.
Oh, I'm even more motivated.
After that, after Barry Roubaix, we'll then proceed back out west and prepare for Sea Otter, which is the first lifetime Grand Prix event. And that's one of Taylor's big objectives as well, is he was chosen as one of the pool of athletes to compete for their prize purse. So we're we're very supportive of Taylor's endeavor to try and place as high as he can in the Lifetime Grand Prix. He's drawn to it because 3 of the events are mountain bike races. The first one in Sea Otter is mountain biking. And so we're, you know, he's a mountain biker at heart. So we know he's got the skills and clearly the endurance and ability to be competitive in that series. And it's important because it's Lifetime's one of the biggest race promoters. And they're also one of the sport's biggest supporters, you know, in terms of developing races, having the race series, bringing the prize purse up to a professional level, and making it such that sport has a higher profile. And that may seem just for the pros, but it's really, to me, I appreciate it because I think it's more aspirational. People, when you start these races in general, you're starting with, it's a group start, it's mass start. So similar to, like, you know, marathons where they say go and it's just wave after wave of, you know, people, you're just starting together and you just go down the road together. So you're racing, start the race with Taylor or start the race with Tinker, right? You start the race with Floyd. You're riding the same course that day with Floyd or Tinker. And if you can ride with them the whole time, if that's your ability. So, right. So Lifetime has the Grand Prix. Taylor is our man for the Grand Prix. So we'll be at Sea Otter. Then a few more events in April. Then there's May 1st is Belgian Waffle Ride #1, which is one of the biggest races in the United States of any type.
Right.
In terms of participants in the venue, well supported. Monuments of Cycling puts on perhaps the best event in San Diego, 10 or 11, 12 years now. And we're just thrilled to be the official CBD of Belgian Waffle Ride this year.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year.
It sounds like it. So I won't keep you much more, Will. This has been exceptional. We've talked. I'm really looking forward to your year. We might have to have you back in the fall to give a little update on the exciting, how the summer went. Because, you know, it just seems like it's getting bigger and better and more exciting for you. So where can everybody find you guys? Where can our listeners find you on social medias?
Sure.
Where do you?
So we are on Instagram, and that's where we kind of chronicle the travels and the activities that we're doing. And it's Floyds of Leadville _racing.
Okay.
And we have a website, floydsofleadvilleracing.com. And so we do have a couple of, you know, those digital assets that permit people to find us and stay connected. And I'm the primary digital person. So, you know, when there are updates to the Instagram, it's generally me this spring and me traveling and doing these races and being training camp and just making the stories as accessible as they can be, because that's really, again, part of the objective is make what we're doing relatable and accessible to, you know, people who like cycling. You know, maybe they're not even racers. Maybe they just want to, you know, see what this is all about, see what it's like to, you know, kind of drive across the country and hit a bunch of races and make a lot of friends. So
I think that sounds exciting.
Yeah, that's what we're doing that's what we're doing all year. But the spring is really our kickoff of the team. This is the first year for the racing team, and we're trying to put ourselves out there so that people can see you just like riding your bike, just come out and ride. You know, race, okay, don't race, but come by, talk to us, you know, ask how we're doing, we'll ask how you're doing, share some CBD with you, talk about your bike. You know what? You know, we're just normal people, right? We're just people who like to ride like anyone else.
Right. So remember, everybody, check out their schedule of races and make sure you go and look for the Floyds of Leadville Racing tent. the green one. And then that's where you're going to find the team. And that's where you can have your chat, have your ginger ale, try some CBD, and get some pictures, get some autographs. Right? Go look for you.
Yeah, we'll be there, and we'll be available. We're not jumping in the cars after the race and running off to the hotel and hiding. We're there to talk about what you're doing. Why are you here? How was your race?
Yeah.
Do you consume CBD to help in your life? We want to be that accessible group that is, available for whoever wants to talk or talk about your race, talk about your training, whatever. We're all riders, so it's an interesting dialogue.
I love that. Thank you so much, Will, for taking the time to be on the podcast and share this story with us. I think a lot of people one of our largest audience is in the United States. So I think a lot of your gravel fans are going to find this really interesting. So thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to follow both Floyds of Leadville Racing on Instagram, as well as Secrets from the Saddle podcast on Instagram. And of course, we are always looking for your review and feedback, either on Apple Podcast or on YouTube, where you can watch this video with lots of amazing pictures that we're going to be adding. So with that, have an amazing day, and don't forget to ride your bike, and we'll be talking to you again, Will, in the fall.
Thank you, Sylvie.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.